There we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Sandra Rincon. I'm co-founder of Here to Start and also president of the NL Alumni Network in the Netherlands. That's the Association for International Students and Alumni residing in the Netherlands. I am very happy to welcome a good friend, Jan Willem van Bookhoven. There we go. I pronounced it right.
Perfect.
He's the executive director of the Holland House in Colombia, and we have been working closely for many years in terms of how to strengthen the relationship between Colombia and the Netherlands, and also in terms of our entrepreneurs and our alumni, vice versa. So we had the honor and the pleasure of hosting and inviting Colombia as the guest country last year. And Jan Willem gave us a wonderful presentation and a great start on this new movement of incorporating countries that are strong in startups and that offer tremendous possibilities for entrepreneurs. And Jan Willem, I like to welcome you and for you to give us a few words of how that experience was, and if there's what has evolved from that collaboration.
Thank you, Sandra. Good afternoon for many, good morning for some, good evening maybe also for some of the participants today. Thank you to you, Sandra, to Mario Lucia, for inviting me, for having me once again. I'm based in Bogota, based in Colombia for the last 8 years, so it's been a while. I am Dutch, so I was born in the Netherlands, very nearby Rotterdam. And I think great to be here once again. And last year in the I'm sorry for that, in the past edition of the Here to Start festival, Colombia was the invited country. So that was the reason that I also participated last year. And I think that was a great experience. I'm leading here an organization called Holland House Colombia, which is like the Dutch Colombian Chamber of Commerce. And it's our role to connect companies, entrepreneurs, organizations from the two countries. So between the Netherlands and Colombia. And of course, Here to Start aims to bring more international talent, more international innovative companies, startups to the Netherlands. And I think that combines very well with the objective we have as Holland House. So we were very happy to participate, but also to be invited country. And I think now looking back, because it's been a year, time flies, and it's been a year that we were invited country, that Sandra and I were here on the screen too. And I think the results the numbers speak for themselves. You have all seen the numbers of Here to Start, how the community has grown, the number of participants last year, the growing number of participants this year. So the numbers speak for themselves. I think Here to Start is a great platform, but also if I look at what it brought for us, if you look at invited country Colombia and what has it made possible, what has happened since the last edition of this Here to Start Fest, I think many things. During this year, I have had, I think, contact with maybe some 20 companies, startups, entrepreneurs from Colombia that have really taken the step or are taking the step to also use the Netherlands as a platform, for growing their business, for capitalizing their business, for bringing their idea to reality. So it's been very productive. Many contacts, many entrepreneurs that really got inspired by last year's event. And I think that's also something that I noticed, that there's a great synergy between the Netherlands and Colombia. There's cooperation and there's a great match. And that's what we see in practice. 2020, a difficult year I think for all of us in many ways. But if you look at the investment from the Netherlands in Colombia last year, the Netherlands was the third biggest foreign investor in Colombia. But if you look at where did Colombia invest abroad, then we see that the Netherlands is actually the number 2 in the world. So of all the countries where Colombia could invest and where Colombian companies could invest, you would think of the neighboring countries, the nearby countries, but no, the Netherlands is the second country in the world where Colombian companies, corporates, but also many startups invest. And I think that's not only a result, of course, of Here to Start, it's a result of a tendency that we see, but this event played a very crucial role in that. So I would have loved to be invited country once again. In this case, Colombia, in this case, we would have loved to be again invited country. That's not possible. But I think there's no better option than Estonia being the invited country this time. I'm also going to learn about Estonia because I have participated in events and in presentation, and I know it's a great country with a lot of innovation, and I'm very impressed by everything that's happening in Estonia. But I'm also going to learn more about that, about the dynamics, about how that could work together with the ecosystem in the Netherlands. So very happy to be a participant this time, with a little bit of regret because we would have loved to have the same role as last year, but that's normally not possible. You will not be invited country 2 times in a row. I've learned that. So I'm going to listen to Estonia. I think we have a great speaker that Sandra is going to announce. And I hope for all the participants that this event is going to be very productive, a lot of inspiration, but also that thanks to this event, you will all be able to take the next step in your development, in your establishment abroad, in your journey to building your future company. And I look forward to meeting you again, maybe as invited country or maybe in another way. But thank you for having me a while, and thank you for enabling me to tell you how it has impacted the relation between Colombia and the Netherlands.
Jan Willem, thank you so much. You have no idea how satisfying and for us an inspiration to hear your words in terms of what this event has meant for both countries. And I think that that's why for Maria Lucia and for me is so important to continue to grow this community of international entrepreneurs. Jan Willem, you can leave with the medal of knowing that you were first and number one always in our hearts. So wonderful. Thank you so much. And I am sure we will continue to engage you and engage Colombian entrepreneurs. And I think that the whole purpose of inviting new countries is to precisely grow the knowledge and the network. As much as for you now being connected to Estonia as well, and I hope that also helps Colombia establish linkages in many ways, and vice versa with the Netherlands and Estonia. So that we build these triangles and grow the network. So thank you so much. I'm going to give you the opportunity to then pass the Olympic torch to our wonderful guest, Piret Putuset, who is the head of services for the Estonia Chamber of Commerce. Hello, Piret. Welcome. And
hello,
welcome
Sandra.
so much.
And hello to everybody who are in the virtual conference space. For us, it's afternoon. The colleagues are already heading to afternoon drinks, but I'm here in front of you to tell you a little bit about my precious country. And obviously, there couldn't be any better introduction than what Jan was giving. It was perfect. And I think there's a lot of links between Estonia and the Netherlands. And through Netherlands, we hope to get more links to other countries as well.
Indeed. Well, we had the honor of welcoming the ambassador Terras to your ambassador to the Netherlands, and she gave us some opening welcoming words, and we were impressed just with the very, very short highlights of what she gave us in terms of what Estonia offers, the possibilities that are available for entrepreneurs in Estonia. So having said that, Piret, why should a startup a startup business consider Estonia as a place to build their business?
That's a great question to start with, and obviously I have heard this question so many times. First of all, I would bring out the ease of doing business. We are the first digital nation, and we have so come to useful things and tools that many people in other countries don't realize that even exist. They can't think that doing things or dealing with governmental issues can be that easy and that simple. We have mobile ID for more than a decade. This means that you can sign the documents. Now, yes, it's a directive in European Union, and by some day in the future, all the European Union citizens should be able to do the same. But we have used this privilege. And this is a big privilege. The same, you can file your taxes. It all comes automatically. And the same goes for the companies. It's like it took me last year 2 minutes to file my tax report.
Wow.
And second thing, what I would like to bring out is our very simple tax system. It's flat. You don't need to calculate how much can I earn or how much do I need to pay for my staff. It's very simple. And then if you reinvest your profit of your company, it's zero tax. I think these three main reasons are the ones which really draw the attention of entrepreneurs. And from the other perspective, I just yesterday was participating in a networking event. The lady from Scotland had relocated to Estonia because of founding the startup over here. And she said, I don't want to go back, especially after Brexit. It was very soft measures during the pandemic, which meant people didn't have the restrictions to stay at home in front of their screens all the time. We could still go enjoy. We could even go to cinemas and theaters when all the cultural capitals were closed and nothing in terms of culture was happening.
Wow, that's really a luxury nowadays, right? Thank goodness. Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. So I was wondering, what are some of the key industries to focus on if we're thinking about setting up some of a business in Estonia? What would be some of the local needs as well?
Okay, I start with where not to invest right now, or if you invest in these sectors, then take a lot of time until the return on investment. So first of all, tourism, right? Just before the conference, I had a walk in our precious medieval town because our premises are in the precious medieval old town, which is UNESCO heritage, by the way. And really, for the local, it's great not to have those crowds of tourists. But at the same time, from a perspective of businesses, it's definitely not great. And I think the pandemic gave you a lot of hints where the economy and the society at large is heading. So it's about ICT, scalable businesses, everything what you can do with your phone or platform-based enabled things. This is the future, and people won't go out of from this mode. And then it comes also to business opportunities. The other big thing is green economy and sustainable economy. I was working on sustainability 20 years ago, and now I finally see the move, but it will come. It eventually will come. You see what the young generation is doing, take a look at what they are doing, and you get lots of business insights.
Very. I agree completely with you, especially with this whole green economy. Indeed, it's taken a while to get it going, but I think that precisely the pandemic has brought, I guess, has forced us to be confronted of the importance of taking care of the environment and how important it is to bring it back, right? Bring back nature to our experiences. So definitely. So you're saying is the green economy is definitely a sector to invest in, as well as, you know, anything that is mobile and IT based, right? Pretty much. Good. Could you tell us, the ambassador did tell us a bit about the e-residency, and went a little bit too fast. Just kind of give us, you know, what is that you've been sharing, you know, for 10 years? You've been, you know, what is, in your experience, what is that like? You know, does that facilitate in any way an entrepreneur setting up their business there?
Great question. I'm very passionate about the residency because I've seen the impact it has had on global entrepreneurs. I used to work in Latin America 1 decade plus years ago. So I was based in Ecuador first, and then I was based in Brazil. And I had, luckily, LinkedIn and Facebook were already in place. So I have those contacts in my social media. And one of the Brazilian entrepreneurs applied for e-residency, one of my ex-colleagues. And why did he do it? Because with this e-residency, he could establish a company in Estonia. He could have access to European Union market. And it was simple, and it was possible to do from a distance, so without needing to travel to Estonia. But yes, you have to go and present yourself in an embassy, because otherwise, you know, it's a loophole for all the dark businesses, which we don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, wow. And this whole thing of these digital nomad visas, do you know much about that? Could you give us a little bit of? I know that I don't know if it's too technical question, but at least in terms of how does that, you know, facilitate, or where can you have at least access of that information?
Sandra, I must admit that talent policy and talent attraction is one of my passions. I used to do work in the Ministry of Economic Affairs for a very little time, but very precious time. And I never thought that I will be joining the public sector, but here I was creating the first ever talent attraction action plan for Estonia. And obviously, Estonia is a small country, and like even big countries right now are struggling to find the talent. Usually the talent is for ICT roles. So it's the developers or product managers, business development managers, but they all need the ICT specific knowledge. And over there, Estonia is competing with the US. We are competing with everyone. And I think Netherlands made a very smart move to make a special startup visa, and also the visa for digital nomads. And now most European Union countries have something of the sort. So yes, Estonia has had different governments. So some governments are pro-migration, some governments are not that liberal, so they would rather not to see it happening. But you can't change the world trends. So if the world trend is that there are people who want to travel and they can work via internet from whatever location, then you need to adopt. And obviously for Estonia, the e-residency was one of those ways to adopt. And then the second was the digital nomad visa, and also the startup visa. And we have a special scheme for investors as well.
Wonderful.
Obviously, the technical details, this is not my field, definitely not.
No, I know, but I think that for the people who are listening, it's really important that they understand that this is possible. There is information available, and that can facilitate for them to set up their business, right? And that can help them. So, and in that sense, you know, Estonia is provides a lot of this information in English, so it makes it also accessible, right? So pretty much in the website of the Estonian government, you can find all this information. Wonderful. Okay.
Our friend Google helps always. So you just have to Google a little bit and you'll find.
Okay. Yeah. So you just Google nomad visa Estonia and there, something like that. Good. Okay. So what requirements are needed, to register a business? If you're an international and you want to set up a business in Estonia, what kind of requirements would you need?
That's a great question. And basically, definitely you need two things. For a company, you need the address and you need the bank account. With address, it's quite easy. With a bank account, when you think what is happening in the world, there's a lot of money laundering going on, big scandals which happened before pandemic, but definitely something is happening also here because people always find ways to avoid taxes. So for opening the bank account in Estonia, I will be very honest telling that it won't be easy for foreigners. But there are also fintech companies like Bank D26, which was founded in Berlin, and this will help you bridge the gap. And also, if you reach out to Startup Estonia, they will have a lot of great tips. And also, again, all the information available in English as well, because we don't expect that a nation with 1.3 million people, everybody will learn our language. So our public services are also bilingual, or sometimes even Estonian, Russian, and English is present because we have lots of Russian-speaking citizens here as well.
Okay. How long does it take, pretty much, to go through that process? Do you know? I say, or does it depend on the type of business you're going to set up? Just give us a bit of more insights into that.
So yesterday, the networking event I was mentioning was hosted by Belgian entrepreneur who wanted to relocate from Belgium. And the reason why he wanted to relocate was that the Belgium is just so bureaucratic. It takes so much time, effort, and money to do all the things that the state requires you to do. So he told his story. At first, he set up a meeting with the Estonian ambassador, and our ambassadors in every country where we have them are very approachable. So I would definitely advise you to reach out if you want to learn more or get the connections or get the more specific information, because we don't have a bilateral chambers that much, but definitely there are local communities of Estonians in different parts of the world. And so it all depends. It all depends whether you want to relocate your whole life to Estonia or not. But otherwise, it's like, and it depends. It's like when somebody is looking for an office space, some take a lot of time to look for options. Some are like, they go to the first place and it's okay, and voila. So, but when you take the technical registration process, it was the world record already in 2009, where you can create the company within less than 10 minutes.
Wow, that's very fast. that is wonderful. That the efficiency of setting up a business and pulling out a lot of the bureaucracy and being able to know right away how to set up your own business. I think that must be very attractive, right, for businesses around the world. Do you see a growing number of international startups coming to Estonia now than, say, 10 years ago?
Yeah, of course. because 10 years ago, our startup ecosystem was in their infancy as well. There were like first big successful startups created, and then they sold them out and they had their own funds to invest in new startups. Then the VC funding was like taking the leap forward, the same for the angel investors. So now the community has grown a lot. And one thing what I want to bring out as well, because we don't think about it at all, is about corruption. Because if all your state affairs are via web-based and via e-services, you don't have this middleman, this public official who might say, okay, I give you this whatever paper what is needed, but you need to pay me money. And I never thought about it before I headed to the conference in Ukraine. There, the translator came to me and said, you know, in Ukraine, the politicians can say, and the high-level officials can say that yes, we want e-government and we want to be as efficient as Estonia. But in real life, they don't want, because they will lose their revenue stream, because the public official salaries are very small as well. So obviously they are not surviving with this one. And this is actually happening in many countries. And this is also why the take-up of e-services has been rather slow in many countries. And the other thing here to mention is also that it's not only about corruption, but the whole mentality in Estonia is to get things done. So when I was in Latin America, I was a little bit in a bad position because my colleagues from Ecuador and from Brazil said, Piret, you're too direct. You tell all the things, but here, you need to be kind and friendly and explain. And in this sense, we are very similar to Dutch people because they are very direct as well. I know it. I have many Dutch friends.
Indeed, right? The search for making things much more efficient, and I think in the business world, this is definitely important, right? Everybody wants to be able to move quickly, and especially in technology, when the technology is changing so quickly, right? That companies that start developing software or developing scalable businesses, they need to move very quickly. And if they're blocked by bureaucracy, by the time that they're able to launch their product and it's been held in order to get permissions or whatever, then, that's a nuisance, because that means they need to already start something else. The same thing with, with anything scalable like that. So that's definitely wonderful. We have a question from our audience, and it is on, how is the quality of life in Estonia from Estonian perspective?
Well, I love a question, and why I love a question is when I was 21 years old when I moved to work in Latin America, first in Ecuador, then in Brazil. I came back to Estonia, and all the people were asking like, why did you come back in Brazil, in Latin America? It's such a vibrant culture, samba, people drinking mojitos. I worked in a Baltic region, so not only in Estonia, but also in Latvia, Lithuania. And then I applied for a program and I went and flew to China. From China, I also decided to come back to Estonia. And then people were again asking, because it was a recession, it was 2010, 2011, and they're like, China is booming. Why on earth did you decide to come back? And then in 2015, I moved to Brussels to work for European Commission Vice President. And again, I came back to Estonia. So, and I always tell the same answer. And there are two reasons why I came back to Estonia. First, obviously, I'm a patriot. And instead of like gaining a lot of money, for me, much more important is to make an impact in my home country. Secondly, in Estonia, with a salary, what I'm earning, I have a best life quality in the world. And accessible culture, accessible education, accessible medical services, the best air, one of the purest air in the world, and within the European Union capitals the same. I think these reasons all line up for the quality of life. And this is what the internationals keep on telling about Estonia as well.
Yeah, no, wonderful. That's wonderful to hear in terms of that work-life style balance. Is that similar? At least in the Dutch culture, there tends to be a much more awareness of the importance of also they work very hard. It tends to be an efficient system as much as possibly is, but there is time to relax. Family time is important. Is that also in Estonia that we see?
Yeah, we see the trend now, and the pandemic definitely fastened the trend, because beforehand maybe the work culture was more like the American way, but still, yes, the work-life balance is very good. The young moms or fathers are allowed to go to the maternity or paternity leaves, and the state gives them salary, and it's the longest time period to receive a state-paid salary, and it's 1.5 years for a mom. For a father, it's a little bit shorter time.
So, but that's really good. I mean, a lot of times, dads do want to participate in that, in raising the kids, but a lot of times it's not the unwillingness, but the fact that the system doesn't facilitate it, right? And so that's important to be able to have that as well. Wonderful. Well, we still have a little bit of time. I don't know if there's any more questions from the audience. I don't see any more questions. So I was just wondering if you would like to give us, a few tips, as an international entrepreneur. I'm interested in Estonia. I want to set up a business, perhaps in the green economy. What would you advise me? Okay, Sandra, you do these 3 things first.
Okay, Sandra, that's a great challenge. But obviously, first do your homework, do your research. Make sure that you take everything into account when you're making this decision. Because setting up a company is easy, but closing a company in Estonia is not easy.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about that. What is not easy about closing the company?
Somehow it just takes more time than setting it up.
Okay.
I haven't closed my company yet, so I'm not in a position to share my own experience. But then again, it's most probably your company will be more sustainable when you have more than one founder, because with more than one founder, you have more bright minds in your team, and it's more sustainable. You also have different viewpoints, and then obviously make a business plan. And the business plan, yes, some people are pessimistic, some are optimistic, but most, I would say 95% of a business plan I've seen working here or in my previous positions in different organizations, they are over-optimistic. And this is the tendency what people do. It's like they tend to be over-optimistic in short-term results and underestimate the long-term results. So even if you do your business plan, be prepared that it won't go as wished. When I founded my own company, it was in tourism sector, and then it was 6 months before COVID came. But you see, it's life, and like everything what doesn't kill you makes you only stronger.
Exactly. So is that picking up now? Your business is that in tourism? Yeah, starting to pick up a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, but it's in a very specific niche. It's about organizing design tours. So getting design interested people whoever you are in the audience, I can give you a great overview in the next session in about 1 hour.
Yeah, that's true. We'll be together again in a little bit. Wonderful. So, people, do your research, right? And that includes, do some research also on Estonia, on the visa opportunities. Don't go alone to setting up your business. Pair up with one or two or more co-founders. They bring better perspectives. Create your business plan. Maybe start small. Don't be so over optimistic of your targets in the short term, but maybe on the long term, yes. But just kind of be patient as well, right? Be patient in terms of the growth. Sometimes that's difficult. We are now in societies, because of technology develops so quickly. We get so used to the internet being instantaneously that we've become very impatient as well, and we want results yesterday, not and we need to be patient in terms of seeing, like, you see a plant grow, you need to give it water, and some plants grow not so fast, but other ones a little bit faster, but they need time to grow. And so, well, Miret, I want to thank you so much for your time, for your knowledge, for sharing us, and for your enthusiasm about Estonia. You made me really very curious, and definitely would like to visit when we can visit. And I'm looking forward to listening to you later on your presentation about design and the tour design, what that has to offer. I was also very impressed when our ambassador told us about that Estonia does have 7 unicorns, that is tremendously impressive. So congratulations on that as well. Estonia has much to offer to international entrepreneurs. The fact that you can be welcomed in English makes also that step easier. So people, have a look at Estonia. And again, Peter, thank you so much for joining and being our guest country this year. I think that it's wonderful. It's really wonderful and impressive what Estonia is doing.
Thank you, Sandra. It was a pleasure to be here and share a little bit of the knowledge from here. And the next session is not only about design and design tools, but it's about creative industries in general. So a lot of things to cover within 30 minutes.
There we go. Wonderful. So it's creative industries, people. That's it's always fascinating. That world is also fascinating. Okay, I think that we now have 5 minutes left. If you want to share anything about Estonia or anything else that you think would be really useful.
I'm going to pick up on what you told about 7 unicorns, because yes, it sounds fancy. It's like, it's a nice thing to say, but what lies behind the unicorns? It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of heavy work, and obviously a little bit of luck as well. And the story goes about the latest unicorn, which is called Wise, and they just recently had a IPO, and yes, the first person who was employed to work for Skype, which was our first unicorn, founded together with another Estonian person, TransferWise, and now it's called Wise. And why we founded the company was the fact that one of them was located in London, and when he wanted to transfer money to Estonian bank account, the bank in London charged incredibly high fees. So then we realized that if they set up a bank account in Estonia and in London, they can somehow do it the same service, but like 10 times or even more times cheaper. And this is how the business idea took up. And now they're present in so many countries.
Yeah,
Their fastest growing markets are in Latin America, in Brazil. They have a big community of Brazilians working in their headquarters. And just Tuesday, I was delivering a design tour in the same quarter where they have also creative industry incubator. And I said to my client who had come from Latvia to learn about the Estonian creative industry, I said, my mission is to make Estonian creative industry as known as our unicorns and ICT sector. And when I was telling it, the founder of TransferWise, one of the guys, Christoph, was walking, and he heard it and he was like smiling, because obviously he knows how much work, effort, passion, but also luck you need to have in order to build such a worldwide company.
Very, very true. That's wonderful. That's a great story. I really can feel your passion for this creative industry. So, and that's so important to have people passionate about and believe in what they do, right? And that makes a world of a difference, because indeed having a startup, it takes a lot of resilience. You're going to be getting a lot of, blocks, challenges, lots of long hours, whether it is an efficient system as Estonia has or as the Netherlands has, still you're faced with cultural differences, with, you don't first have to land and figure things out. So I think that's why your advice of, okay, do some research before, kind of preparing before you start. It's definitely very valuable, as well as, have a business plan so that you can rely on it, right? And know in which direction you have a strategy, and at least you can touch, okay, so this didn't work, we need to adapt here, let's try this, right? Definitely. So wonderful. Anyway, well, I look forward to seeing you in the in the creative industries, and thank you again for joining us. And everyone, I don't see any more questions, so thank you for those listening. And please do join us in the different sessions that we have throughout today, as well as the creative industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.